you ever wondered what secrets still lie hidden within the world's greatest mysteries? From the towering Great Pyramid of Giza to the puzzling Step Pyramid of Djoser, from the strange precision of the bent pyramid to the massive unfinished obelisk, history leaves behind questions that refuse to be answered. Why was the Osireion at Abydos built with such unusual design? What secrets hide in the underground Serapeum of Saqqara? And what can the Valley Temple of Khafre or the mysterious Dendera Temple Zodiac tell us about the knowledge of ancient civilizations? The Sakkara Bird, the Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III, and the massive stone of the pregnant woman continue to baffle experts, while the collapse of the Minoan Civilization still leaves historians searching for answers. And then, there is the Antikythera Mechanism, an ancient device so advanced, it has been called the world's first computer. Each of these enigmas pulls us deeper into the past, raising questions that modern science still struggles to explain. Could these monuments, artifacts, and ruins hold knowledge far beyond what we imagine? Or are we only scratching the surface of forgotten history? Join us as we uncover 15 of the most fascinating ancient mysteries ever discovered. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the journey into the unknown. Because each mystery we explore may be the one that finally changes the way you see our history forever. Great Pyramid of Giza, the desert of Giza holds a monument that has defied time, weather, and human understanding for over 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Rising from the sands with an imposing geometry, it is the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. But beneath its massive stones lies a riddle that scholars, engineers, and explorers have pursued for centuries. How was this colossal structure built? And what deeper purpose might it have served? Standing originally at nearly 147 meters tall and constructed with over 2 million limestone and granite blocks, the Great Pyramid is not only an architectural feat, but also an enduring puzzle. Each block weighs several tons, and yet they were fitted together with such precision that even today, in many places, a sheet of paper cannot pass between them. The alignment of the pyramid is equally striking. Its sides are oriented almost perfectly to the cardinal points of the compass, a level of accuracy achieved without modern instruments. Inside, the pyramid presents a design that is both intriguing and perplexing. The so-called King's Chamber, constructed entirely of granite transported from Aswan, lies at the heart of the structure. Above it, a series of relieving chambers and massive granite beams, some weighing up to 70 tons, were placed to divert the enormous weight of the stones above. But questions linger. Why was such a complex design necessary, and what does it tell us about the intentions of its builders? Archaeological evidence links the pyramid to the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, who ruled Egypt's Old Kingdom around 2600 BCE. Inscriptions inside nearby workers' barracks and on quarry marks in hidden chambers suggest a workforce of thousands labored on the site. Contrary to older myths of slaves toiling under harsh conditions, discoveries indicate that these builders were skilled laborers, well-fed and organized into teams. Yet even with a large workforce, the logistical challenges remain staggering. Moving blocks of such scale across desert terrain, lifting them into place, and maintaining the pyramid's exacting geometry has led to countless theories, from massive ramps to counterweight systems, from water-assisted transport to more speculative ideas. Equally mysterious is the pyramid's symbolic role. Many Egyptologists view it as a grand tomb, designed to honor Khufu and secure his journey to the afterlife. But the absence of definitive burial artifacts inside raises doubts. Unlike later tombs in the Valley of the Kings, the Great Pyramid offers no colorful inscriptions, no treasures, no human remains. Some researchers suggest that its true function may have extended beyond a burial monument, that it could have been a cosmic symbol, a marker of celestial knowledge, or even part of a greater spiritual complex designed to mirror the heavens. Adding to the intrigue are features such as the narrow shafts leading from the king's and queen's chambers. For decades, their purpose puzzled scholars. Some alignments seem to point toward stars once significant in Egyptian cosmology, such as Sirius and Orion's belt. Were these channels symbolic passages for the soul, or part of a larger astronomical design embedded into the stone? Modern robotic probes have revealed doors and hidden spaces within these shafts, raising the possibility of undiscovered chambers yet to be explored. Even in the present day, with advanced technology and decades of excavation, the Great Pyramid continues to withhold its secrets. Every new scan and survey hints at cavities or anomalies within spaces that might conceal knowledge untouched since antiquity. Yet definitive answers remain elusive. The Great Pyramid stands as both a triumph of ancient engineering and a monument to the unknown. It challenges us to consider not only the technical abilities of its builders, but also the worldview that inspired such ambition. As the desert winds sweep across its weathered stones, one question lingers in silence. Have we truly uncovered the purpose of this ancient wonder? Or is the Great Pyramid still guarding truths that remain beyond our reach? Step Pyramid of Djoser, in the heart of the ancient necropolis of Sakkara, stands a monument that changed the course of human architecture, the Step Pyramid of Djoser. Rising out of the desert sands, its layered silhouette is more than just stone upon stone. It is the first of its kind, a structure that redefined what was possible in the ancient world. And yet, despite centuries of study, it continues to leave us with questions that remain unanswered. The pyramid was built around 2667 BCE for Pharaoh Djoser, a ruler of Egypt's third dynasty. Before this time, pharaohs were buried in mastabas, rectangular, flat-roofed structures made of mud brick. But under the direction of Djoser's visionary architect, Imhotep, the design evolved into something revolutionary. Imhotep did not stop at one mastaba. Instead, he expanded upward, stacking layers to form a six-tiered pyramid, an architectural leap that laid the foundation for all future pyramids. Standing originally at 62 meters high, the Step Pyramid was the tallest man-made structure of its time. Its limestone casing gleamed under the desert sun, a beacon visible from miles away. But what lay beneath was just as extraordinary. A vast network of tunnels and chambers extending nearly 6 kilometers was carved beneath the structure. Some passages lead to storage rooms that once held thousands of stone vessels, believed to preserve offerings for eternity. Others descend to the burial chamber itself, lined with granite blocks so heavy that their transport and placement remain a mystery. Yet the pyramid is not only a tomb. Surrounding it is a sprawling mortuary complex enclosed by massive limestone walls. Within this sacred precinct stood temples, courtyards, shrines, and ceremonial gateways. Each element reflected a symbolic landscape, a recreation of Egypt itself, designed to ensure Djoser's eternal reign in the afterlife. Archaeologists suggest the complex mirrors a divine stage where rituals of rebirth and cosmic order unfolded. But here the mystery deepens. Many of the chambers and corridors appear to have had no practical function. Some are dead ends. Others are filled with intricate blue faience tiles, mimicking reed mats, giving the sensation of walking through a palace frozen in time. Why would such painstaking detail be hidden away in darkness, never meant to be seen? Was it purely symbolic, or was there a deeper purpose we have yet to understand? The identity of Imhotep himself adds another layer to the enigma. More than just an architect, he was a polymath. Priest, physician, astronomer, and scribe. His vision turned stone into eternal memory, earning him deification centuries later. But how did he conceive such a radical departure from tradition? Did he draw upon lost knowledge? Or was the leap from mud brick to monumental limestone a bold experiment that succeeded on the first attempt? The Step Pyramid has also endured tragedy. Over the millennia, earthquakes damaged its structure, and tomb robbers plundered its treasures. Restoration efforts in recent decades have stabilized the monument, yet the original burial chamber remains heavily scarred, its secrets largely erased. And still, fragments of stone vessels, hidden passages, and unexplored areas of the necropolis hint at discoveries yet to come. As the desert winds sweep across Sakkara, the Step Pyramid of Djoser stands not only as a monument to Egypt's first pyramid builder, but also as a riddle carved in stone. It marks the dawn of a new age in architecture, yet its hidden chambers and symbolic designs continue to defy complete explanation. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not how it was built, but why it was conceived in such a way, a question that lingers, waiting for the sands of time to give up their final secret. pyramids of Djoser beneath the shifting sands of Egypt, south of Cairo, lies a desert plateau that hides some of the most curious monuments of the ancient world, the pyramids of Djoser. Unlike their more famous counterparts at Giza, these pyramids stand apart, steeped in enigmas that continue to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike. Djoser was once the royal necropolis of the Old Kingdom, chosen by Pharaoh Sneferu, founder of the 4th dynasty and father of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid. Here, Sneferu embarked on an ambitious experiment in stone architecture, one that would change the course of ancient Egyptian engineering forever. The most striking among them is the so-called Bent Pyramid. Rising sharply from the desert floor, its lower half ascends at a steep angle of 54 degrees. But midway up, the slope abruptly shifts to a gentler incline of 43 degrees. This dramatic change gives the pyramid its peculiar, bent appearance, unlike any other in Egypt. Scholars suggest this adjustment was made to prevent collapse after cracks formed in its inner chambers. Others believe the bend was intentional, symbolizing a transition between earthly and divine realms. Yet despite decades of study, the truth remains uncertain. Not far away stands the Red Pyramid, often regarded as Egypt's first successful true pyramid. Built with reddish limestone that glows at sunset, it represents the culmination of Sneferu's architectural trials. At 341 feet tall, it was the tallest structure of its time. And inside, a network of corbel-vaulted chambers displays a mastery of engineering previously unseen. The Red Pyramid's smooth angles and stability suggest lessons learned from the Bent Pyramid's flaws, but questions remain. Why did Sneferu attempt 2 massive pyramids in such close proximity? Were they competing visions of immortality, or part of a grander plan lost to history? Other pyramids at Djoser deepen the mystery. The Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III, built nearly 1,000 years later, once soared above the sands but now lies in ruins. Its mud-brick core collapsed under its own weight. Inscriptions hint at burial chambers and labyrinthine passages, but the reasons behind its catastrophic failure are still debated. And scattered across the site are smaller, unfinished pyramids whose purposes remain unclear, abandoned projects, cenotaphs, or experimental structures never meant for burial. Beyond the physical puzzles, Djoser also raises cultural questions. Why did Sneferu select this site instead of Giza or Saqqara? Was it a sacred landscape aligned with celestial or geological markers? Some researchers suggest that the pyramids form part of a larger cosmic plan, their angles and orientations tied to the sun's path and the eternal cycle of rebirth. Others argue that Djoser represents not just experimentation, but the testing ground for Egypt's grand ideology of kingship and eternity. Standing in the silence of Djoser today, the desert winds whisper across weathered stones, carrying with them echoes of an age when pharaohs sought to touch the heavens. These pyramids are more than ruins. They are records of ambition, trial, and mystery. Each bend in the stone, each collapsed chamber, each abandoned plan tells a story not only of engineering but of human aspiration and uncertainty. And yet, despite centuries of excavation, the central question lingers. Were these monuments merely architectural experiments on the way to perfection, or do they conceal a deeper purpose that modern eyes have yet to uncover? The pyramids of Djoser stand as reminders that even the most monumental achievements of the past are never fully explained, leaving us to wonder what secrets still lie buried beneath the sands. Bent Pyramid, the desert sands of Djoser hold a structure that seems to defy the very rules of ancient Egyptian architecture. Rising abruptly from the plateau, its sides twist halfway to the heavens, bending at an angle that feels both intentional and accidental. This is the Bent Pyramid, a monument unlike any other, and one that continues to puzzle historians and architects to this day. Constructed around 2600 BCE during the reign of Pharaoh Sneferu, father of the Great Khufu, the Bent Pyramid represents a pivotal experiment in the evolution of pyramid building. Standing at over 100 meters tall, it was among the first attempts to transform the traditional step pyramid into a smooth-sided form. Yet what makes it so remarkable is its unusual profile. The lower half rises steeply at 54 degrees, while halfway up, the angle suddenly shifts to a gentler 43 degrees, giving the pyramid its bent, almost broken appearance. Why did the builders change the angle? Was it a matter of engineering necessity, or something more symbolic? Scholars have debated this question for decades. One widely accepted theory suggests that structural instability forced the adjustment. The steep lower angle may have caused cracks within the casing stones, and to prevent a collapse, the builders reduced the gradient, finishing the upper portion at a safer incline. In this view, the bent pyramid is a lesson in trial and error, a monument frozen mid-experiment. But others see deeper layers of meaning. Some propose that the change was deliberate, perhaps symbolic of Egypt's duality, the earthly and the divine, the seen and the unseen. Its odd form might have been intentional, a reflection of Sneferu's ambition to bridge worlds, or to create a unique mortuary statement that set his reign apart. Inside, the bent pyramid holds further mysteries. Unlike most pyramids of its time, it contains not one, but two burial chambers, one low within the pyramid's base, the other higher, reached through narrow, sloping passages. The reason for this dual-chamber design is still unclear. Was one chamber abandoned during construction, or was the pyramid meant to serve two purposes, two burials, or even two symbolic journeys? The structure is also one of the best preserved of all Egyptian pyramids, still clad in much of its original polished Tural limestone. When the sun strikes its surface, one can imagine how dazzling it must have looked to the people of the Old Kingdom, a white, gleaming mountain rising out of the desert. If Sneferu's architects had truly feared collapse, why would they have taken such care in finishing it so beautifully? Nearby stands another monument, the Red Pyramid, also built by Sneferu. It was completed with straighter sides at a shallower angle, suggesting that lessons learned at the bent pyramid influenced its design. Yet this comparison also sharpens the question. Was the bent pyramid a failure corrected by the Red Pyramid? Or was it a unique and intentional creation meant to stand as it is? Over 4,000 years later, the monument still resists easy explanation. Was it a flawed experiment in stone, a bold innovation halted mid-course, or a deliberate design encoding a message long forgotten? The desert keeps its silence. The bent pyramid endures, its slanted silhouette a permanent reminder that even in the age of the pharaohs, ambition and uncertainty walked hand in hand. And as the hot winds sweep across Djoser, one can only wonder, what did Sneferu himself think as he gazed upon this strange, angular giant? Was he satisfied with its form, or did he see in it the shadow of an unspoken mystery? Unfinished Obelisk, deep in the granite quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies a massive monument that was never completed. A single block of stone, still fused to the bedrock, stretches over 40 meters in length and weighs an estimated 1,200 tons. Known as the Unfinished Obelisk, it is the largest ever attempted in ancient Egypt, and its presence raises more questions than answers. Walking among the quarry walls, you can almost imagine the sound of ancient tools striking stone. Archaeologists believe that workers during the reign of Queen Hatshepsut, around 1500 BCE, began carving this colossal obelisk directly from the bedrock. Their goal: to create a monument that would surpass every other obelisk ever erected, a symbol of power, permanence, and divine connection with the gods. Yet the obelisk was never freed from the earth. Cracks began to appear in the stone during carving, rendering the massive block unusable. What remains is a monument frozen in time, an ancient construction site abandoned nearly 3,500 years ago. The site provides an extraordinary window into ancient Egyptian engineering. Chisel marks still line the surfaces, revealing the painstaking process of separating such an immense structure from the bedrock. Instead of metal tools, workers used dolerite pounders, spherical stones harder than granite, to slowly chip away at the surface. By examining the marks, archaeologists have been able to reconstruct how the laborers worked in teams, systematically carving channels around the obelisk. And yet, despite this knowledge, many questions remain. How did the Egyptians plan to raise a monument of this scale, one larger than anything ever moved in antiquity? The largest standing obelisk today, the Lateran obelisk in Rome, measures about 32 meters and weighs around 455 tons, less than half the size of the Unfinished Obelisk. Even moving that required extraordinary ingenuity. But the colossal block in Aswan was nearly 3 times heavier. Without modern cranes or machinery, what methods did the ancient engineers intend to use? Some scholars suggest the obelisk was meant to be transported by boat down the Nile to Luxor, where it would have been erected at the Temple of Karnak. But no surviving records explain how such a feat could be accomplished. Theories range from elaborate ramp systems and counterweights to wooden sledges and lubricated tracks. Each possibility, however, presents significant challenges when applied to something of this unprecedented size. The crack that doomed the project adds another layer of intrigue. Was it the result of flawed stone, a miscalculation by the workers, or an accident during the quarrying process? Whatever the cause, it halted the project instantly. Instead of erasing their work, the ancient Egyptians abandoned it, leaving behind one of the most tangible mysteries of their civilization. Today, the unfinished obelisk rests exactly where it was left, a giant still tethered to the earth. For visitors, it is more than a failed monument. It is a reminder of ambition, skill, and the limits of ancient technology. Walking alongside its massive length, one cannot help but wonder what Egypt's skyline might have looked like if it had ever stood upright in the sun, towering over temples and cities as a symbol of eternal power. And perhaps the most haunting question of all lingers in the quarry. If the ancients were willing to attempt an obelisk of this magnitude, what other feats of engineering might they have been capable of, feats that remain hidden, undiscovered, or lost to time? Osireion at Abydos, deep beneath the sands of Upper Egypt, lies a structure that defies easy explanation. Known as the Osireion, this enigmatic monument at Abydos has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and engineers for more than a century. Unlike the ornate temples and decorated tombs we often associate with ancient Egypt, the Osireion feels different: stark, massive, and almost timeless. Discovered in the early 20th century, the Osireion was first brought to light during excavations near the Temple of Seti I. What emerged from beneath the sand was a subterranean complex, built of enormous sandstone blocks, some weighing more than 100 tons. The architecture was strikingly unusual. A central hall lined with megalithic pillars, surrounded by a trench that once held water, creating the impression of an island at its core. The atmosphere of the place seemed more like a primordial sanctuary than a traditional Egyptian temple. Its connection to Seti I's temple above suggests it may have served a symbolic role, linked to the ancient cult of Osiris, the god of death, rebirth, and the underworld. The design evokes the idea of creation arising from the primeval waters, a concept central to Egyptian cosmology. But while its symbolism is compelling, the structure itself raises more questions than it answers. Why was such a unique building constructed here, in a style that seems to diverge sharply from the conventions of its time? The dating of the Osireion is one of the greatest debates surrounding it. Mainstream Egyptologists generally assign its construction to the reign of Seti I, around 1290 BCE. Yet, the style of the Osireion appears older, almost archaic, as if it echoed techniques from Egypt's earliest dynasties or even before. Its megalithic stonework, stripped of ornamentation, feels closer in spirit to the enigmatic monuments of far older civilizations. This contrast has fueled speculation that the Osireion may incorporate elements of an earlier, lost phase of Egyptian architecture, later adopted or repurposed by Seti's builders. Adding to the mystery are the hieroglyphs found on the walls of its passageways, some of which were added in later periods. Among them are the so-called Abydos carvings, whose unusual shapes have sparked wild interpretations, some seeing them as depictions of futuristic machines, others dismissing them as overlapping hieroglyphic inscriptions. Whatever their meaning, the presence of later additions only complicates the story, suggesting that the Osireion was revisited and reinterpreted by generations who came after its original construction. Perhaps most striking is the enduring atmosphere of the site. Even today, standing within the cool stone chambers of the Osireion, visitors describe a sense of entering something primordial, a space older than memory. Its very silence seems to carry a weight of forgotten time, as though the builders intended to preserve not just stone, but an idea too vast for words. Was the Osireion truly a creation of Seti I's reign, an intentional throwback to Egypt's earliest sacred traditions? Or does it represent something far more ancient, a survival of a world long erased from history? The sands of Abydos keep their secrets well, and the Osireion continues to stand as a riddle carved in stone, an echo of voices that may never be fully understood. Serapeum of Saqqara beneath the sands of Sakkara, just a short distance from the Step Pyramid of Djoser, lies a place that has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. It is called the Serapeum of Saqqara, a vast underground necropolis filled with colossal stone sarcophagi monuments so massive and enigmatic that their true purpose remains one of ancient Egypt's most enduring mysteries. The Serapeum was first brought to light in 1850, when French archaeologist Auguste Mariette stumbled upon a buried sphinx-lined avenue that led him to this subterranean labyrinth. What he found astonished the world. A series of long, dimly lit corridors carved deep into the bedrock, housing more than 20 immense granite sarcophagi. Each one was perfectly shaped, with smooth interiors and precise angles, as though cut with tools far beyond what we normally associate with the Bronze Age. These stone boxes are not small. Many of them are nearly 4 meters long, over 3 meters tall, and weigh upwards of 70 tons, some even heavier when combined with their massive lids, which alone could weigh 30 tons. Transporting such blocks through narrow tunnels, lowering them into chambers, and fitting them with such precision raises profound questions about the engineering abilities of ancient Egyptian craftsmen. The official explanation is that these sarcophagi were used to house the mummified remains of sacred Apis bulls, animals that the Egyptians believed embodied aspects of the god Ptah, and later Osiris. The Apis cult was one of the most important religious traditions in Memphis, stretching back over 1,000 years. Historical records and inscriptions confirm that bull burials did indeed take place in the Serapeum, particularly during the New Kingdom and later periods. And yet, the mystery deepens. Most of the massive sarcophagi discovered here were found empty. No complete bull mummies, no intact remains, and very few grave goods were recovered. Some chambers showed signs of hasty looting, but in others, the emptiness seemed deliberate, as though the boxes were never used in the first place. Even when skeletal fragments were found, they raised questions. Why create sarcophagi of such colossal size for animals that did not require anything close to that amount of space? The craftsmanship also invites debate. The inner surfaces of many boxes are polished to a mirror-like finish, with corners meeting at nearly perfect right angles. The precision suggests techniques that exceed simple copper chisels and pounding stones. Some researchers argue that the Egyptians, with their mastery of stoneworking, achieved this through perseverance and skill. Others, however, point to the sheer scale and accuracy as evidence that we may not fully understand the technological capabilities of the ancient world. The tunnels themselves add another layer of intrigue. The Serapeum stretches for hundreds of meters underground, divided into long galleries with niches cut to hold each sarcophagus. Walking through these corridors today, visitors often describe a heavy silence, the weight of stone and history pressing down from every side. The atmosphere is both awe-inspiring and unsettling, as though the space was built for something more profound than simple burials. Clues from inscriptions offer partial answers but also raise new questions. Graffiti left by Greek and Roman visitors suggests that the Serapeum remained a site of wonder long after its original function had been forgotten. Some walls record the names of high priests, kings, and even common pilgrims who came to pay respects to the sacred bulls. But nowhere is there a clear explanation of why these sarcophagi were made so large, or why so many chambers were left empty. Modern theories vary. Some Egyptologists maintain that practicality explains the size. The sarcophagi needed to reflect divine grandeur, honoring the bulls as gods in physical form. Others speculate that the boxes were symbolic, serving ritual purposes beyond physical burials. And then there are alternative ideas that the Serapeum was not designed exclusively for bulls at all, but for something else entirely, something now lost to history. Despite the unanswered questions, the Serapeum continues to captivate those who descend into its chambers. The smooth walls, the massive silent boxes, the dim flicker of artificial light against polished granite, it all creates an atmosphere where time seems suspended. Standing before these colossal sarcophagi, one cannot help but wonder, were they really just tombs for sacred animals, or were they part of a deeper, more enigmatic tradition now hidden beneath the layers of history? The Serapeum of Saqqara remains both a triumph of ancient engineering and a riddle without a clear solution. It embodies the paradox of Egypt itself, a civilization capable of extraordinary feats, yet still shrouded in mysteries that elude modern understanding. And as the corridors of Saqqara continue to guard their secrets, one question lingers: what truths might still lie sealed in stone, waiting in the darkness, just beyond our reach? Valley Temple of Khafre, at the very edge of the Giza Plateau, where golden sands meet monumental stone, stands a structure that seems as ancient and enigmatic as the desert itself. This is the Valley Temple of Khafre, one of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, a place where engineering, ritual, and time converge into silence. Constructed during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, builder of the second-largest pyramid at Giza, the Valley Temple is believed to have served as a ceremonial gateway. Here, priests may have prepared the body of the king for his journey into the afterlife, and here too, processions may have begun, linking the sacred Nile with the eternal pyramid. Yet, for all that we think we know, this temple still raises questions that remain unanswered after thousands of years. The first impression of the Valley Temple is overwhelming. Its walls, rising in stark simplicity, are built from colossal blocks of limestone and granite. Some weigh as much as 200 tons each, stones so massive that their placement defies the conventional understanding of ancient construction. Smoothly dressed, perfectly fitted, and laid with geometric precision, they create an atmosphere of both strength and mystery. Walking through its corridors, one cannot escape the feeling of stepping into a place designed to last forever. Inside, the temple is austere, almost minimalistic. There are no inscriptions on its walls, no elaborate carvings to narrate a story, unlike other temples across Egypt. Instead, the space is defined by immense stone pillars and a floor of polished alabaster. Scholars believe it once housed 23 statues of Khafre, symbols of the king's divine power. Today, only fragments remain, with one famous seated statue crafted from diorite now resting in the Cairo Museum. The absence of decoration is puzzling. Was it intentional, meant to focus attention on the king's image alone? Or did time erase the details that once adorned its surfaces? The temple's purpose seems straightforward on the surface. Archaeologists suggest it functioned as a mortuary complex, where the body of the pharaoh was purified and prepared in rituals before burial. Yet beneath this explanation lies a deeper enigma. The construction techniques, the unusual silence of the structure, and its uncanny alignment with the Great Sphinx and the Pyramid of Khafre hint at something more complex than ceremonial use alone. The connection to the Sphinx, in particular, adds another layer of intrigue. The Valley Temple lies directly beside the Sphinx Temple, and both share a similar architectural style: massive blocks, tight joints, and stark interiors. Were these structures built at the same time, as part of Khafre's grand design? Or do they point to an even older tradition of building, one that predates the pyramids themselves? Some scholars argue that the erosion on the Sphinx enclosure suggests water damage, implying a much earlier date than Khafre's reign. If true, the Valley Temple may not have been solely Khafre's creation, but a restoration or continuation of something already ancient. The sheer scale of its stonework has also sparked debate. How were blocks weighing hundreds of tons transported and set with such precision? Even with sledges, ramps, and teams of workers, the effort would have been staggering. Some researchers believe the builders exploited nearby quarries, reducing transport distances. Others suggest ingenious engineering methods now lost to history. Whatever the truth, the Valley Temple remains one of the clearest demonstrations of the Old Kingdom's mastery of stone. And yet, mastery does not always mean clarity. There are no surviving records describing the construction, no hieroglyphic accounts of the rituals performed within. What has come down to us is the structure itself, mute, enduring, and waiting. Its silence invites speculation. Was it solely a temple of purification, or was it something more? Did its geometry hold astronomical significance, perhaps aligning with celestial events as so many other ancient monuments did? Standing in the central hall, one feels the immense weight of time pressing from the walls. Light filters down in narrow beams, bouncing off polished stone floors, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere. It is easy to imagine priests moving in shadowed procession, their chants echoing against granite, the scent of incense rising into the still air. These impressions are all that remain, shadows of a past whose details we can only guess. Today, the Valley Temple of Khafre continues to attract archaeologists, historians, and travelers alike. Each year, new surveys and excavations reveal subtle details, hidden joints, forgotten fragments, traces of tools. And yet, each discovery seems only to deepen the mystery, as if the temple resists yielding its full story. Perhaps that is its purpose, not merely to serve the dead, but to confront the living with a reminder of what we do not know. The Valley Temple endures as a monument to both achievement and enigma, an intersection of human skill and unanswered questions. And as the sun sets over the plateau, casting long shadows across its ancient stones, one cannot help but wonder, was this temple a beginning, an ending, or simply a silent witness to a chapter of history that we may never fully understand? Dendera Temple Zodiac, high above the sands of Egypt, on the ceiling of an ancient temple in Dendera, lies a mysterious carving unlike anything else from antiquity. Etched in stone more than 2,000 years ago, the Dendera Zodiac has puzzled historians, astronomers, and archaeologists alike. Was it simply a decorative piece of religious art? Or does it conceal a map of the heavens, perhaps even a record of something we have yet to fully understand? The Temple of Hathor at Dendera, dedicated to the goddess of love, music, and fertility, is a sprawling complex filled with reliefs, columns, and inscriptions that echo the grandeur of the Ptolemaic age. Among its many chambers, one ceiling panel stands out, circular in design, filled with intricate figures of animals, gods, and celestial symbols. This is the Dendera Zodiac. Carved into sandstone, it is the only complete map of the sky to survive from ancient Egypt, and it appears startlingly advanced. At its center, a circle holds constellations instantly recognizable even to modern eyes. Leo the Lion, Taurus the Bull, Scorpio, Capricorn, and the unmistakable form of Orion, a figure deeply woven into Egypt's religious landscape. Around these signs, we see representations of the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, all carefully placed as though frozen in time. Surrounding them are decans, groups of stars used by Egyptian astronomer priests to track the passage of hours at night, each one marking a precise rhythm in the sky. But the enigma deepens when we ask, what exactly does the Dendera Zodiac show? Some scholars argue it records the sky as it would have appeared on a specific date, perhaps commemorating a royal coronation, a sacred festival, or even the founding of the temple itself. Others suggest it encodes astronomical knowledge far beyond what we thought possible in the Ptolemaic period, pointing to alignments and cycles that seem to anticipate modern understandings of precession and planetary motion. In 1822, the zodiac was removed from the ceiling and taken to France, where it still resides today in the Louvre Museum. Its removal caused controversy, but also ensured detailed study. Early French scholars, encountering the circular star map for the first time, proposed that it was over 12,000 years old, a claim that stirred debate across Europe. If true, it would have placed its creation long before the dawn of recorded Egyptian civilization. Later research, however, suggested a more conventional dating, aligning it with the late Ptolemaic or early Roman period, around the 1st century BCE. Yet even with this dating, questions remain. Why did the Egyptians create such a unique representation of the sky, when most of their celestial diagrams were rectangular and symbolic? Why this single departure into a circular, almost cosmological design? Some researchers believe the zodiac may have been inspired by Babylonian star charts or even Greek astronomical knowledge, fused with Egyptian religious symbolism. Others point out that the precision of planetary positions carved into the stone suggests the chart reflects an actual night sky, perhaps one observed on a moment of great importance. The zodiac is more than just astronomy. It is also myth and ritual. The figures etched into the stone are not just stars, but divine beings, each linked to Egypt's worldview of balance between earth and sky. To the priests of Hathor's temple, the heavens were not a distant realm of science, but a living order that mirrored life on earth. By carving the heavens above into stone below, they were, in a sense, binding cosmic order into the very architecture of their sacred space. And still, one cannot help but wonder, Does the Dendera Zodiac contain knowledge that we have yet to fully decipher? Is it simply a ceremonial map of the heavens, a fusion of myth and astronomy, or does it hint at an older, hidden tradition of star watching, one that reaches further back than we dare imagine? Like the constellations it depicts, the zodiac continues to shine across centuries, a silent enigma carved in stone, reminding us that the ancients may have known more about the sky than we think. Sakkara Bird, high above the desert sands of Egypt, hidden within a wooden display case in the Cairo Museum, rests a small, unassuming artifact. At first glance, it looks like a child's toy, a simple carving of a bird. But this modest figure, known as the Sakkara Bird, has puzzled archaeologists, engineers, and historians for decades. What was this object meant to be, and why was it placed in a tomb nearly 2,000 years before the modern airplane took flight? The Sakkara Bird was discovered in 1898 during excavations at the vast necropolis of Saqqara, south of Cairo. It was unearthed from a tomb dating back to around 200 BCE, placing it in the Ptolemaic period of Egyptian history. Made of lightweight sycamore wood, the artifact measures just under 7 inches in length, with a wingspan of about 7 inches as well. It is delicately carved, with a slender body, straight wings, and a tail that is unlike any bird known in nature, shaped more like a rudder than feathers. For many years, the object attracted little attention. Museum records simply labeled it as a wooden bird, likely an offering to the gods or a child's plaything. Yet closer examination raised unsettling questions. Unlike most representations of birds from ancient Egypt, which were carved with detailed plumage or perched on bases, the Sakkara Bird is aerodynamic. Its body is smooth, its wings angled, its design functional rather than decorative. Even the tail, flat and vertical, appears engineered rather than artistic. This led some researchers to wonder, could the Sakkara Bird represent something more advanced than a simple figurine? In the 1960s, the Egyptian physician and archaeologist Dr. Khalil Messaha took a particular interest in the artifact. He argued that the object was not a bird at all, but rather a model of an ancient flying machine. To support this claim, he pointed to the tail, which resembles a vertical stabilizer on modern aircraft, and the overall symmetry of the piece. Tests in wind tunnels showed that the artifact could indeed glide when thrown, behaving more like a primitive glider than a bird. If Messaha was correct, the implications would be extraordinary. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians had knowledge of aerodynamics, centuries before humanity's first recorded experiments with flight? Or was the object perhaps a symbolic representation of flight itself, connected to the Egyptian god Horus, who was often depicted as a falcon soaring across the skies? Skeptics, however, urge caution. Most archaeologists interpret the Sakkara Bird in a more conventional way. They argue that it was likely a ceremonial object, perhaps used in rituals connected to the soul's journey after death. In Egyptian belief, the soul was often represented as a bird, the Ba, which could fly between the realms of the living and the dead. From this perspective, the bird was not meant to be functional, but symbolic, an aid to the deceased in navigating the afterlife. Others suggest the artifact may have been part of a toy or weather vane, its aerodynamic qualities the result of coincidence rather than design. They point out that no other artifacts from ancient Egypt show evidence of flight technology, nor are there written records describing such machines. To leap from one wooden model to the conclusion of advanced aeronautics, they argue, risks misunderstanding the artifact's cultural context. Yet the mystery remains. The Sakkara Bird does not fit neatly into any single explanation. Its construction is too precise to ignore, yet its purpose is too elusive to define. Replicas have been built, and experiments continue, but the original artifact remains silent, offering no clear answers. Perhaps it was simply a religious symbol. Perhaps it was an accident of design. Or perhaps it was something more, a fragment of knowledge that was lost to time, hinting at possibilities we cannot fully grasp. As the visitor stands in the dim halls of the Cairo Museum, gazing at this small wooden bird resting behind glass, the questions linger. Did it once carry a symbolic soul on its eternal journey? Or was it a glimpse of a forgotten science, a whisper of flight centuries ahead of its time? The truth may never be known. And so, the Sakkara Bird continues to hover not in the sky, but in the realm of mystery, its wooden wings forever poised between myth and invention. Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III beneath the shifting sands of Egypt, where the Nile once shaped kingdoms and dynasties, there lies a forgotten monument, a pyramid unlike the others. Dark, ruined, and eroded by time, it is known as the Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III, a mystery that still puzzles historians and archaeologists alike. Standing in the Fayum region at Djoser, the Black Pyramid was once a grand royal project of the Middle Kingdom, built under Pharaoh Amenemhat III around 1850 BCE. Yet unlike the soaring Great Pyramid of Giza or the elegant Red Pyramid nearby, this structure became infamous for its flaws, collapses, and eventual abandonment. When it was first constructed, the Black Pyramid was not black at all. It was clad in shining white limestone, rising nearly 75 meters into the desert sky. But beneath that brilliant exterior lay a core of mud brick and clay, a material far less stable than stone. Over the centuries, floods from the nearby Nile seeped into its foundations. The pyramid began to sag, twist, and ultimately crumble. The once proud structure turned into a deformed mass of darkened ruins, giving birth to its modern name, the Black Pyramid. Yet the story of this monument goes beyond engineering failure. Archaeological excavations have revealed that it held not only the burial chambers for Amenemhat III, but also for several queens and princesses. Beneath its collapsing superstructure lies a maze of subterranean corridors and chambers, intricately planned but plagued with structural instability. Engineers of the time attempted reinforcements, lining ceilings with massive cedar beams and limestone blocks, but the shifting earth beneath proved stronger than human ingenuity. Still, the pyramid was not simply abandoned in shame. Instead, it seems to have continued serving as a royal necropolis, its chambers used for royal women and members of the court. Some archaeologists suggest that Amenemhat III may have accepted its flaws yet pressed forward, determined to honor tradition by completing his pyramid even as the sands swallowed it. Others believe the pharaoh ultimately shifted his burial plans to another site, the pyramid at Saqqara, leaving the Black Pyramid as a half-failed, half-sacred monument. The internal passages add yet another layer of intrigue. When first mapped in the 19th and 20th centuries, explorers found a bewildering network of tunnels, false doors, and sealed passages. Were these elaborate designs meant to confuse tomb robbers, or do they point to a deeper symbolic meaning lost to time? Even now, some chambers remain inaccessible, filled with debris and collapsed masonry, leaving questions about what might still lie sealed within. Artifacts discovered around the site raise further questions. Fragments of richly decorated sarcophagi, funerary equipment, and remains of royal women were uncovered, but curiously, no definitive trace of Amenemhat III himself has ever been identified within the Black Pyramid. Was his body ever interred here, only to be moved later? Or was this pyramid never his true resting place at all? The answer remains elusive. Equally mysterious is the choice of location. The Fayum Depression, where the pyramid stands, was an area of major engineering works during Amenemhat III's reign. Canals, reservoirs, and agricultural projects reshaped the landscape. Some scholars argue that the pharaoh chose Djoser for symbolic reasons, tying his reign to both the ancient traditions of the Old Kingdom pyramids nearby and the revitalization of the Fayum region. But in selecting ground prone to flooding, he may have inadvertently doomed his monument from the start. Today, the Black Pyramid is a ruin, a low, dark mound barely resembling the towering structure it once was. To the untrained eye, it may appear as nothing more than a decayed hill of mud brick. But beneath the surface, its secrets endure. Engineers, archaeologists, and historians continue to debate its role, its failures, and its meaning in the broader story of ancient Egypt. Was it a failed experiment, a warning of what happens when ambition outweighs practicality? Or was it a deliberate project, imbued with symbolism that we no longer understand? Perhaps the greatest enigma of the Black Pyramid is not its collapse, but why it was built the way it was against all odds, against the judgment of history, and against the sands of time. In the desert silence of Djoser, the Black Pyramid still broods, a monument both to human ambition and to mystery itself, reminding us that even the mightiest of pharaohs could not fully command eternity. Stone of the Pregnant Woman. Deep in the ancient city of Baalbek, in modern-day Lebanon, lies a massive stone block that has puzzled archaeologists, engineers, and historians for centuries. Known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, this colossal piece of limestone is one of the largest cut stones ever discovered, and its sheer size raises questions that history has yet to fully answer. The stone rests partially buried in a quarry, only a short distance from Baalbek's famed Roman temple complex. Measuring around 20 meters in length, 4 meters in width, and more than 4 meters in height, it is estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons. Some researchers even suggest it may be closer to 1,200 tons. To put that into perspective, this single block is heavier than 3 fully loaded Boeing 747 airplanes combined. The mystery is not merely in its size, but in its craftsmanship. The surfaces of the stone are remarkably smooth, with sharp edges and precise cuts. It was clearly meant to be transported and placed, yet it was never moved from the quarry. For centuries, scholars have debated why. Was it abandoned due to flaws in the limestone? Was it simply too heavy to transport, even with the most advanced engineering techniques of the Roman world? Or was there another reason entirely? To understand the mystery of the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, we must first step back into the history of Baalbek itself. The city was an important religious and political center for multiple civilizations. Its most famous structures, the temples of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus, were built during the Roman Empire. These temples were monumental in scale, featuring some of the largest stone blocks ever used in construction. The retaining walls of the Temple of Jupiter, for instance, contain the trilithon 3 blocks, each weighing around 800 tons. The question arises, if the Romans managed to move and position those immense stones with such precision, why was this particular block left behind? One theory suggests that the stone may have been quarried during a later phase of construction, when even more ambitious plans for Baalbek's temples were underway. The block may have been intended to surpass the size of the trilithon stones, symbolizing imperial grandeur and divine power. However, if flaws were detected within the limestone, such as cracks or weaknesses, the stone would have been unsuitable for use and therefore abandoned. Yet others argue that the stone may never have been abandoned at all. Instead, they propose it was a deliberate test, an attempt to push the boundaries of what was possible in ancient stoneworking and transport. If so, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman represents not failure, but ambition, a bold experiment in megalithic engineering. The name itself carries a layer of intrigue. In Arabic, it is known as Hajar el-Hibla, often translated as Stone of the Pregnant Woman. Local legends tell different stories about its title. Some say a pregnant woman tricked the builders, claiming she knew how to move the massive stone in exchange for being cared for until her child was born. Others suggest the name may derive from ancient associations with fertility and abundance, symbols deeply tied to the land of Lebanon. Adding to the mystery, archaeologists in recent years have discovered yet another massive block beneath the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, even larger in size. Measuring over 19 meters long and estimated to weigh around 1,650 tons, it surpasses anything previously found at the site. This raises even more questions. How far were the builders willing to go in their quest for monumental stonework? And could these blocks really have been transported, given the technology available at the time? Modern engineers have attempted to reconstruct how such stones might have been moved. Theories range from wooden rollers and sledges lubricated with oil, to teams of oxen or human laborers pulling with ropes. Yet the scale remains almost unimaginable. Even with today's heavy machinery, moving a block of this size would be a challenge. For the Romans or any earlier civilization, the task would have required extraordinary ingenuity. Standing at the quarry today, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman is silent, massive, and unmoved. It lies half-buried, a reminder of human ambition pressed against the limits of possibility. Was it a monument that failed before it was realized? A forgotten piece of a greater vision? Or perhaps a marker left intentionally to show that even in the ancient world, humanity was reaching for something beyond its grasp? The stone endures, a riddle in limestone, waiting for answers that may never fully come. Minoan civilization collapsed in the heart of the Mediterranean. On the island of Crete, once thrived a civilization so advanced, so enigmatic, that its sudden disappearance continues to puzzle historians and archaeologists alike. This was the world of the Minoans, an ancient society of seafarers, artisans, and builders whose collapse remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. The Minoan civilization flourished for centuries, beginning around 3000 BCE and reaching its height between 2000 and 1450 BCE. Centered in sprawling palace complexes such as Knossos, Phaistos, and Malea, the Minoans developed a culture rich with trade, art, and religion. Their frescoes depict vibrant scenes of nature, festivals, and even athletic events, giving us glimpses into a society that seemed both prosperous and deeply spiritual. They were among the first Europeans to create a written language linear A, though it remains undeciphered to this day, concealing untold knowledge about their daily life, beliefs, and governance. Yet, by 1100 BCE, the once great Minoans had faded into obscurity. Their palaces lay in ruins, their trade networks collapsed, and their culture absorbed into that of the Mycenaeans and later Greek civilizations. What happened to them? Archaeologists have long debated this question. One of the most prominent theories points to the volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, around 1600 BCE. The eruption was one of the most powerful in human history, sending tsunamis crashing into the coastlines of Crete and covering vast areas with ash. Crops would have failed, harbors would have been destroyed, and the very foundations of their economy disrupted. Some scholars believe this event directly inspired later Greek myths, including the story of Atlantis. But the Thera eruption alone may not fully explain the collapse. The Minoan palaces were rebuilt after the disaster, suggesting resilience and recovery. For nearly 150 more years, Minoan culture continued to flourish. So what other forces were at play? Evidence points to a gradual decline influenced by multiple factors. Climate studies suggest a period of drought may have weakened food production. Earthquakes, frequent in the region, could have damaged key structures, forcing repeated rebuilding. And then, there were external threats. Around 1450 BCE, archaeological evidence shows widespread destruction across Crete. Palaces such as Knossos bear marks of fire and sudden abandonment. Some believe this was the result of invasion, possibly by the Mycenaeans from mainland Greece, who soon after began to dominate the region. The Mycenaean presence in Crete is undeniable. They adopted and adapted many aspects of Minoan culture, including religious practices and artistic styles, but their arrival coincides almost precisely with the disappearance of Minoan political independence. Whether through conquest, assimilation, or both, the unique character of Minoan civilization was absorbed into a larger Aegean world. Yet, mysteries remain. Why did the linear A script vanish, replaced by the Mycenaean linear B? Were the Minoans completely overtaken, or did they merge seamlessly into the new order? And why did such an advanced society, with its intricate trade networks and vibrant culture, prove unable to withstand the pressures of nature and foreign incursion? Even today, the ruins of Knossos whisper fragments of an untold story. Frescoes of bull leaping and priestesses in elaborate robes hint at ceremonies and rituals we can only guess at. Storerooms once filled with olive oil, wine, and grain remind us of a thriving economy cut short. And the elaborate architecture, multi-level complexes with plumbing systems far ahead of their time, shows us a people of remarkable ingenuity, whose downfall was as complex as their achievements. The mystery of the Minoan collapse lies not in a single event, but in the interplay of disaster, invasion, and change. A civilization that once commanded the seas, traded across vast distances, and built wonders of stone and color, eventually vanished into the folds of history, leaving behind only fragments of their story. And so, as we walk through the silent halls of their ruined palaces, we are left to wonder, were the Minoans victims of nature's fury, of human conflict, or of forces we have yet to uncover? Their fall remains a riddle suspended in time, an echo of a great civilization that disappeared, but never truly died, for it continues to live on in the questions we still ask today. Antikythera Mechanism, hidden away in the depths of the Aegean Sea for nearly 2 millennia, a corroded fragment of bronze was pulled from an ancient shipwreck in 1901. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a lump of encrusted metal. Yet, inside that fragment lay gears so finely cut, so precise, that they would challenge everything historians thought they knew about the ancient world. Today, it is known as the Antikythera Mechanism, often described as the world's first computer. But despite over a century of research, its true origin and purpose remain one of archaeology's most captivating enigmas. The story begins off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera. Divers, searching for sponges, stumbled upon the wreckage of a Roman-era ship that had sunk around the 1st century BCE. Among the statues, amphorae, and treasures recovered from the site was a collection of corroded bronze fragments. At the time, they attracted little attention. But when closer examination revealed interlocking gears, scholars quickly realized they were looking at something entirely unprecedented. No other artifact from antiquity showed this level of mechanical complexity. The mechanism itself was originally housed in a wooden box roughly the size of a shoebox. Inside, it contained at least 30 bronze gears, intricately designed to mesh together with astonishing precision. Turning a hand crank set these gears into motion, and with it, the ability to predict celestial phenomena. Ancient inscriptions on the mechanism indicate that it could forecast lunar and solar eclipses, track the cycles of the moon, and even calculate the timing of the ancient Olympic Games. For a device dated over 2,000 years old, such sophistication seems almost out of place. What makes the Antikythera mechanism so mysterious is not only its function but the question of who could have built it. Some scholars point toward the intellectual legacy of Archimedes, whose genius in mathematics and engineering was legendary. Others suggest it may have come from the school of Hipparchus, the renowned astronomer of Rhodes. Yet, no surviving texts from antiquity ever describe such a device in detail. It is as though the mechanism appeared suddenly in history and then disappeared without a trace. Modern reconstructions have revealed just how advanced the mechanism truly was. The gears could simulate the irregular orbit of the moon by using a system of epicyclic gearing, a mathematical concept thought to be lost until the development of modern mechanics in the Middle Ages. The front dials displayed the positions of the sun, moon, and zodiac, while the back panels contained spirals that charted the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period crucial to ancient astronomy. In essence, the Antikythera mechanism compressed the cosmos into a handheld machine. And yet, questions linger. Why has no other device like it ever been found from the ancient world? Was it truly a unique invention, or part of a wider tradition of advanced Greek engineering that simply did not survive the passage of time? The shipwreck that carried it may have been transporting treasures from the eastern Mediterranean to Rome, raising further puzzles about its intended owner. Was it designed for a wealthy patron, a statesman, or perhaps a philosopher eager to hold the heavens in his hands? What we know for certain is that the Antikythera mechanism was far ahead of its time. Devices with comparable complexity would not reappear until the development of mechanical clocks more than 1,000 years later. This gap in history leaves an unsettling silence. Did the knowledge vanish, destroyed in wars and fires like the loss of the Library of Alexandria? Or was the mechanism an extraordinary outlier, the product of one brilliant mind whose secrets died with him? As researchers continue to scan and reconstruct its fragments with modern imaging technology, new details emerge. Inscriptions, once unreadable, now suggest instructions and references to planetary motions, hinting at an even greater range of functions than originally believed. Each discovery answers one question but raises another, deepening the mystery of how such a marvel came to be and why it disappeared so completely from history. The Antikythera mechanism reminds us that the ancient world still holds secrets beyond our imagination. It stands as both a triumph of human ingenuity and a haunting reminder of how much knowledge can be lost. And so the corroded gears, locked in silence for centuries, continue to turn in our minds, whispering of a forgotten chapter in the story of human civilization.